All right, it's Lenny with Cardcast, aka Austin and Leonard. I am back in the office from such a fantastic day at the Enfield show. Forget about the sales. The sales were great. I loved interacting with the customers, but Rob Dibble was signing there today. And before I get into it, we have a little bit of a Rob Dibble interview at the end here. And, he was just so awesome to answer my questions. So big thank you to Rob Dibble for just being, great and generous with your time and all the energy that you gave. And then also, I want to give a huge shout out to Alex Langlis and Jeff Catterud. Alex's Ideal Cards, and Jeff, I believe, is JB Autographs. And they, for a one-day show, 2 floors of dealers. They bring in the customers, they bring in the dealers, and they've been bringing in autograph guests every month for the last at least 8 months in a row that I've seen. And they brought in like Dwight Gooden, they just brought in Rob Dibble, they've had Ruben Sierra, Jack McDowell. So they're bringing in former all-stars, guys that had careers, and it just adds to the experience. And so I know Rob was great with the guests today. So anyways, before we go into the interview, I'm just going to show you some of the things that I got signed by him, and we'll jump right into the interview, and that's going to cut it for tonight. And I'm going to be in, where am I going to be in? Oh, the 413 Chicopee show in Massachusetts tomorrow. So got to get to bed and go do that. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. Okay, so I had a baseball signed, inscribed or personalized to Lenny, coming in high and tight, Rob Dibble, and then he inscribed in 1990 World Series champion, NLCS MVP, which is awesome. I had him do another one for a friend of mine. And then I had these cards done. This is an 88 Cons card. This is a 94 Finest Refractor, I believe. 293 Topps Fan Favorites from 2003, I believe. Both of them are serial numbered out of 299. Topps Tiffany Rookie, 88 Flair Update, and 88 Score Traded. Those are all going to the PC, and he just did a great job. These were done in paint pen, and these were done in just thin Stadler. So all right, let's go to the interview. Rob, thanks so much for answering some of my questions here on Cardcast. So your pitching style, obviously, you had a high kick. I remember just recently going back and watching some of the videos and stuff like that. How were you influenced, or was that mechanically beneficial for you later on?
Mechanically, I actually had a couple of really good teachers. There's a scout from the Dodgers named Buzz Bauer that would always come in and work with the pitchers and stuff, especially on the follow-through. He used to, and I still teach this to this day, on the follow-through, he would put down a coin, and you would throw all the way through and pick up the coin and then field your position. And then there was another guy that was with the Orioles named Dick Teed, and Dick Teed would come in. And they just kind of, they were like, who do you like? And I was like, Dennis Eckersley. And they're like, okay, well, he's got a flat leg kick. And you brought up Juan Marichal, which is funny because Jose Rijo married his daughter. So I saw him a lot in Cincinnati. But we talked about it. It's really not the kick, it's the balance. Okay. So you're coming up, you're corkscrewing, and I teach this to 8-year-olds and all the way up to my 16-year-old. You corkscrew a little bit, so you're really, if you look at this picture, my butt and my shoulder are lined up to face the catcher. And that's because that's the way I was taught. So the leg kick really was just getting my balance. For the second part, which is even Tom House, who was Nolan Ryan's pitching coach and Tom Brady's throwing coach, when your foot hits the ground, you're releasing the ball. Okay. So it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, and then boom. And so I teach my kids to load, and you can see kind of the bent leg here, and you're loading, and you explode, and you go towards home. And when you, like I said, when you land, you got to be releasing the ball.
So you brought up Dennis Eckersley. Dennis Eckersley was your idol. How cool was it to pitch against him in the 1990 World Series?
You mean how cool is it to win Game 2 and him lose Game 2? Probably that's my favorite part of the World Series. Not only winning, because obviously it's a team thing, but X my idol. I loved him. I still love him. Hall of Famer. I mean, go from winning like 200 games to saving 390 is amazing. And I don't think anybody understands how amazing that is. And it's funny, I just happened to look this up the other day. I don't always look up my stats or anything like that. And I looked up because I wanted to see how many Hall of Famers were on the A's and who was who and stuff like that, because I had brought in a bat because of this whole torpedo thing. And it had all these names on it. And I was trying to figure out who the names were because it's 35 years ago. And as I'm looking through there, I didn't know Bob Welsh won the Cy Young. And Eck was runner-up, and Dave Stewart, I think, was fourth.
Smoke.
So you had like 3 of the 5 top Cy Young guys that year. I didn't know Ricky Henderson was the MVP.
Yeah.
So imagine that, us sweeping that team, all the Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame manager, all that stuff. I mean, it actually 35 years later, it's way more awesome.
Yeah.
Now, my next question was, and I want to preface it by, I was 13 years old watching that World Series, and television back then didn't allow us to get, to have access to all the games.
Right.
I enjoyed watching all you guys play up until that point. I never really had a favorite team, even though I'm here in New England and, there's Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, and all that stuff. So I kind of favored the favorites. So I just watched the game. My dad never influenced me, didn't have a favorite team or anything like that. I know that you have to have supreme confidence when you go into the World Series, but were you surprised at all, like going back in that time, like the dicing up that lineup, and sweeping them? Because I remember like Ricky Henderson just being baffled, like walking back to the dugout.
I know.
And I was like
struck him out,
shocked.
he dragged his bat.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I knew my team, and if Pittsburgh had beat us, they would have beat Oakland.
Okay.
That's how good Pittsburgh was.
Gotcha.
So that was our World Series. So they were so good. Their lineup matched us way better than Oakland. Oakland was more power than speed.
Yes.
We didn't like speed. St. Louis always tore us up. The Dodgers, the Giants. If you could get guys on base, Pittsburgh was one of the best.
Yeah.
You get Jose Lind, who owned me. He'd get on, Jay Bell sack him over, and then you had Van Slyke, Bonds, and Bonilla. And then even Slaught and the rest of the Lavalier, all these guys could all hit. They were all contact guys. They all put the ball.
Was Sid Bream with them at that time?
Sid Bream was on that
yeah,
team. So when you think about the guys that were on that team, King, I can't
Jeff
remember.
King, yeah.
Jeff King.
Yeah.
They just had such a solid lineup, just like us.
Yeah.
So one through the pitcher, and their guys could hit too.
Yeah.
Well,
Draybeck was.
Draybeck
was smart.
Draybeck was your Cy Young in '90 that year.
Yeah.
So getting through them to get to Oakland, honestly, we weren't surprised at all. We outscored them 22-8. Our game plan was stop the middle of the lineup. We knew Ricky was going to hit, and he hit over 300 in the series.
Yeah.
And we're like, and if he runs, let him run.
Yeah.
We're just not going to worry about him.
So I had a small interview with Dwight Gooden, and I had asked him. I said, "Hey, Dwight, what did you listen to when to kind of pump you up to go out?" And he told me gospel music. So, and I kind of laughed at that because I was not expecting that. Was there a certain kind of genre of music or something specific that you listened to?
Two bands, although I love heavy metal.
Can I guess?
Huh?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Led Zeppelin?
Oh, I love Led Zeppelin.
Iron Maiden?
I love Iron Maiden. Those were not the
Okay.
bands then.
All right.
Megadeth and Metallica.
Okay.
So Megadeth, it was Symphony for Destruction.
Yeah.
Listened to it while I was doing my stuff in the locker room, and I loved Justice for All.
Okay.
I listened to that every day on the way into the stadium.
Yeah.
So, but I also Ride the Lightning. I like instrumental heavy metal stuff. So I just like. And when I go to concerts, and I still go to concerts. I love country too. My wife's really into country, Grateful Dead, so I go to a lot of different shows. But for me, my dad was in radio. I listened to everything.
Yeah.
So growing up, the Doors to Led Zeppelin to the Who, that was everything. But when I was getting older and in the minor leagues, and you're riding buses for 15 hours, that's when I would listen to bands like Kansas or Genesis and ones that were like hour-long albums and stuff like that, which for the older people in the room, cassettes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last question. Can I ask one last question? As far as doing D. Snyder Radio over 20 years ago,
I love
it was a great call, and the show was awesome. And I was sad to see it go away. I understand corporate politics and
Yep.
stuff like that, but I mean, do you keep in touch with any of those guys or?
I don't, but I do my radio show out of Dee's studio.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, we have a beautiful Dunkin' Donuts or Dunkin' studio that we do the show out of on a lot of days. But when stuff's going on in that other studio, we use the D. Snyder studio.
So you see him. I'll have to put down a little card. We can hand him Angry Lenny for me and Sonia. I used to write
Oh no.
all the time.
Listen, one of my tattoos that I got live on the air.
Yeah.
Lost another bet. I'm not going to talk about what I had
Right,
to do there.
right.
But it had to do with piercings. And no, I loved going on there
Yeah.
because he didn't just talk sports. We would kind of relate
The
music
chemistry
to
that they
sports.
have,
Exactly.
including yourself. I mean, there was one time I called. I used to email them all the time. They used to like read my stuff on the air because I had a little bit of humor to it. But the only time I called in was when you were on, and it was just cool. It was really cool to talk to you. About
Absolutely,
that.
but if you look at music and sports, it's so intertwined, and
Yeah.
even now they're allowing you to listen to music when you're golfing.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing because it used to be such a quiet sport, and it's like and my players can't take ribbing from other teams, and I'm like, so I sent them a video of me being like taunted by 50,000 people at Giant Stadium at Candlestick, and I'm like, listen, you could do this, you could do that, and it's like you gotta focus on what you're doing. So
Rob, thank you